All right, this is the second video for the order of operations, just a brief review, so we just have a couple more problems to take a look at here. So we're going to go ahead and look at simplifying this expression here. So it says 2 squared plus, and then we got 77 plus 3 divided by 4 times 5. And then that whole thing divided by 2 and then minus 4. And so what we want to do is we want to simplify the stuff inside the parentheses, and we can actually simplify the stuff on the numerator and the denominator separately. And you could do the 2 squared is 4, it's kind of separated, but we'll go ahead and leave that alone for the time being. So we'll have 77 plus 3 is 80, divided by 4 times 5, which is going to be 20, and then divide that by 2, and then minus 4. Now we can simplify the 80 divided by 20, so we're going to have 2 squared plus 80 divided by 20 is 4, divided by 2 minus 4. Now we can do the exponents, so 2 squared is 4 plus, and realistically 4 divided by 2 is its own term, so we could do that division, so 4 divided by 2 is 2, and minus 4, and now we're down to addition and subtraction in order from left to right. So 4 plus 2 is going to be 6 minus 4, and that's going to be 2. Okay. All right. Let us continue. All right, and so we're going to simplify this expression, and let's say that we'll do an example. Let's say that I have a half cup, and I want to divide that. Half of cup into fourths. Okay, so how many quarter cups do I have in a half of a cup? Well, it's just 2, right? And so when I divide a fraction by a fraction, so I want to, in 1/2 divided by 1/4, I want to know how many 1/4s. So how many 1/4s are in 1/2? That's what this question is asking, and it's 2, because 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4, which is a half, or you can think of it as 2 times a fourth, okay, as 2/4 or a half, okay. And anytime you're multiplying a fraction and a whole number or integer, you can always just make that like a 2/1 there, and then you just multiply straight across. So, a over b times c over d, just a times c over b times d, so just straight across. That's the nice thing about multiplication. So when I divide something by a fraction, we keep the first. Okay, so we keep the first. So you keep and then you flip, or you take the reciprocal of the fraction you're dividing by, and then you change the sign from division to multiplication. And so sometimes I've heard students in the past refer to it as KFC, keep, flip, change. So you keep the first fraction, you flip the second fraction, then you change the operation into multiplication. So then this gives us 4 over 2, which is 2. And so there are 2/4 in a half, or 2 quarters make 50 cents would be another way of doing that ratio there. Those ratios of 1/2 and 1/4. So if we look at this here, we're going to do multiplication and division in order from left to right. So we want to do that division first. So we have 4, and then it's divided by 13 over 20. So we're going to keep the 4/5. We're going to flip the 13 over 20 to become 20 over 13 and change the operation into multiplication, then times 1/2. Okay, now we can just multiply straight across, and so 4 times 20 is 80, over 5 times 13 would be 65, and times 1/2. And at any point in time, you could reduce. You could reduce here and say 5 goes into 5 once, into 24 times. So you could certainly do that at any point in time. We'll go ahead and we'll reduce at the end. I'll multiply again. 80 times 1 is 80. 65 times 2 is 130. And so, if we're going to reduce, we could reduce by 2, for example. So reduce by 2. So that's going to be 40 over 65. Those are both divisible by 5, so we can reduce by 5. So 40 divided by 5 is 8. 65 divided by 5 is 13. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and simplify this one here. So we have 1/6 minus 1/2 times 8/7. And when you add or subtract fractions, a common denominator is required. So we're going to need a common denominator. Okay. And so we'll figure that out in just a minute. But we're going to do the multiplication first here. So we're going to have 1/6 minus, that would be 8 over 14. And it would be handy to reduce. So this would be 1/6 minus 4 over 7. So we're going to reduce by 2. Okay. And it's good to reduce because you're going to make the number smaller and it's just easier to work with smaller numbers. Okay, so now we want to find the least common denominator. Or abbreviated LCD, okay? So LCD of 6 and 7, okay? And so a quick way of finding a common denominator is just to multiply the two denominators. So, 6 times 7 is going to be 42. And that may be the smallest one. And, one way we can do this is just list out multiples of 6. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, 60, etc. And multiples of 7, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, etc. And so you see you have the common multiple there, 42, and that happens to be the least. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to have 42 as the denominator of both of these fractions. So to get the 6 to be 42, we need to multiply it by 7. So we're going to multiply it by 7 over 7 minus 4 over 7, and we're going to multiply that. So we need to multiply by 6. So 6 over 6. Okay. All right. So straight across, 7 over 42 minus 24 over 42. Okay. And that is going to be how much here? Okay. 17 over 42. What do you think? 17 over 42? Okay. All right. I think that's enough for this video, so we'll see you in the next one.